Hey, what's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be showcasing what I'm spending my staff points on with the franchise staff, my team schemes, and then also the auto subs for the progressive fatigue and the fatigue slider. I did show my fatigue slider in my slider video, but I think it's worth mentioning or, adding on the fatigue slider along with the progressive fatigue training and all of that stuff. Um, but let's get right into it. I'm not trying to waste any of your guys' time. But so here, the only staff modifications that I actually have bought are all the head coach ones. I did buy these with the intention of buying all of them, right? Uh, However, I bought these for the head coach way back when I started testing my sliders and stuff like that. However, um, I have been hearing that it's actually like if you want a more realistic feel to your, Madden games and stuff like that in franchise mode, it's better to just not buy any of the like offensive coordinator ones and the defensive coordinator ones because that those boost your players individually and obviously, who wouldn't want that? But what it causes is that it basically makes it to where your players kind of don't play true to their overall, if that makes sense. As you can see here, one of this says, juke move for halfbacks by one. So it'll boost it by one. So if your halfback has juke move at 83, they'll be playing at an 84. Now, if you were to ask me, I think yeah, it's better to not, buy those talents because I feel like it's mainly the sliders which you should be focusing on and which you should be depending on in terms of how your team's going to play, whether your running back makes a play or not, or defensive back gets that one interception or crucial, pass deflection. Regardless, though, the only ones I'd recommend really trying to shoot the stars for on the head coach tree, or the trees, if you will, is Fountain of Youth, and then We've Seen Enough. Basically, what these would do, so the We've Seen Enough is going to obviously, it says right there, it reveals a hidden development trait. Now, for me, what I like to do is when I draft players and stuff like that, and they have hidden development traits, if I have, let's say, three hidden developments on three of my players, um, I ask myself, okay, who is gonna play the least, right? Who's gonna play the least amount of snaps? And then I reveal that one so that I know, do I want to start this guy or do I want to just let him sit? And then I'll reveal his depth chart at the end of the season once the off season kicks in and all that. Or what you could also do is, reveal that person that's going to start to see whether or not you have like one of your backups start rather than um, the other situation that I mentioned, because there are some players who are amazing coming out of the draft and they have a hidden development, and you're kind of curious as to whether or not they have you know superstar dev or superstar X factor, but they may end up having just star development, which obviously that's kind of a killer because if they're a good player, you wish they would have had the higher development trait. But basically, all in all, is this is the one that I purchased the most. Now, Fountain of Youth, it regresses or it slows, regression for one position on the team. I would recommend doing this for positions that are valuable or there's a lot of players on it. So like QB, obviously that's the most valuable position, so you would want to do him. Or you could do positions like cornerbacks where you're gonna have like five or six of them, or you could do defensive tackles, or you could do wide receivers, stuff like that. And then so for the offensive coordinators, or for the offensive coordinator, I just bought the X Factor one so that I can use my X Factors. Same thing for the defensive guy. I just bought the X Factor one. And then for player personnel, this is where I buy all of them because you want to have your off season go, nice and no hiccups. You want to sign who you want to sign. You want to trade for who you want to trade for. And at the end, at the bottom here, this is for like if you have a player that doesn't want to resign with you, you can negotiate them again and again and again and again. But that's up to you. And then that's a no. That's it for for the coaching staff. Now, team schemes. So here's where it gets very creative in terms of which you choose. So the offensive scheme, the defensive scheme. Basically, when a player fits your scheme, it's mainly just for them to get XP. If they fit your scheme, they're gonna get more XP. Now, where the scheme fit comes into play and where it's important is when you're gonna resign players because or whether it's free agency or you gotta extend them. Some players like to determine whether or not they want to be with you or be with another team because of their scheme fit. So let's say your tight end is a possession type of tight end, you're gonna want to change that to a multiple zone run, as you can see right there, right on the right hand side. Um, I have I have 3 out of 3 tight ends, so I have all the tight ends I have are all possession scheme tight ends, and then for my vertical zone run, they're all vertical threats as well. But you could go either way with it, right? Um, but yeah, that's basically it for the offensive scheme. Now, for me personally, the Giants had the vertical zone run offensive scheme last year, and I really liked it because we have Barkley, and then we also have Jones and stuff like that. I still do have Jones and Barkley on the team, so I still have it on vertical zone run. Now for defensive scheme, um, I love playing in a 4-3. I love playing with 4 rushers, the defensive ends, and then the defensive tackles, and then having the linebackers be the main ones who are I would say the breadwinners of the defense. They're the ones that stop the run most of the time. Like they're the ones, the backups to the defensive line. And then they're also the ones that could create interceptions, create plays like that, and also cut out any lanes, running lanes, cut off any receivers trying to get open and stuff like that. And then obviously I also like the defensive backs and the Tampa 2 type of play, but Tampa 2 this year is kind of terrible to be honest. Regardless, though, I like the base 4-3. I know some people like the base 3-4 or just the 3-4 in general, and I will show playbooks for that one. But moving on to the playbooks, for offensive playbooks, I like for this is regardless because I don't really think the scheme matters when it comes to the playbook, at least for offense. Because, like I said, your scheme is just for the players to get more XP, to fit in, and so on. But here for me, I'm actually matching my scheme with my playbook. It's a zone run, and I have a vertical zone run. Regardless, though, here I have the New York Jets. As far as I know, they're the best playbook, offensive playbook in the game. Now, I also like, from what I've tested and everything, I like Jacksonville's playbook. The Giants' playbook is okay, it's decent. I like Minnesota's playbook. I like also the Bills' playbook, and then also the Bengals' playbook. The Bengals is for like if you have multiple wide receivers that are like deep threats. They know how to run routes, stuff like that. The Bengals offensive playbook is like perfect for that. Now, if you have a vertical zone run like I do, where Saquon, you have tight ends, you have receivers, you have the whole 9 yards in terms of weapons, I will say a playbook like a zone run is going to be good in terms of that. And now moving on to the defense. Now, the defensive playbooks, I only have 2 really that I liked in terms of my testing. I do know that the Chiefs is good apparently for the 4-3. However, I didn't really like it. I wasn't really getting any pressure with the Chiefs playbook, but I was getting pressure with the Commanders playbook, Washington's. Um, for me, when I would play Washington, they would actually get quite a bit of pressure on me and my QB and everything. So I ended up using them, and I actually found that I was getting consistent pressure. Yeah, some games I'm gonna have, no pressure, some pressure, and then others I'm gonna have pressure like on every down. So I like how that one plays. Now for the 3-4, I may be a little biased here, but in terms of when I played, the New York Giants playbook for the 3-4 is actually pretty good. Um, I played it still with the Blaze 4 scheme, and I had, Kayvon Thibodeau at left end still and everything like that, and the Giants playbook actually played really well. Um, but the reason I don't like the 3-4 is because the game can't tell the difference between a pass coverage outside linebacker and a defensive or a rushing outside linebacker. So like when I choose a coverage type of play, it puts my starting outside linebacker regardless whether he knows how to cover or stuff the run or you know rush the passer, which I don't really like that. Now, last thing, my auto subs. So unfortunately this year the fatigue slider along with fatigue levels in practice or from training each week, they don't really change at all. There's not really a challenge or a difficulty to the practice reps and all of that you do with the fatigue levels and so on. And then auto subs to me is honestly personal preference. Um, it depends on what you have, your depth as well. If you have a lot of running backs, then obviously you're going to want to make these number values to where it'll benefit you in terms of that. So let's say you run your first running back all down to 80 fatigue level, right? They'll go out and they'll only come back in until they come back up to 89, you know, we'll call it energy percentage, right? So that's the only way they come back. Obviously, you don't want this too low because then when they're trying to recover, they're never going to recover, and then you're going to have like your fourth string running back if you have that many out there running, and obviously you don't want that. Now, like I mentioned, I do not remember what I had this at. Anyway, like I mentioned, this is just personal preference. Like if as you can see my defense here, they're all literally the same because I want my entire defense rotating in and out. I want every single player on my defense to get reps, keep progressing and stuff like that. So, in the future I can either, keep signing them, uh, you know, make one of the backups be the starter, or maybe even trade him for some value so I could move on and draft someone even better. Now, last thing I want to show you is that fatigue slider. Like I mentioned, I can't show you the reps of the practice thing, but I do want to just mention that for my practice reps, I have the pads at half pads and the reps at split. So I'd split the reps and I have half pads on for my starters and or for for the entire team basically. Um, but I will say, like I said, there's no difficulty, there's no challenge to the practice reps and managing people's health and stuff like that. So it kind of makes me feel like it's a useless feature. Now I will say, if you turn off progressive fatigue, your players are gonna play so like fast. They're gonna play twitchy. They're gonna be it's gonna be like if you're playing on the competitive mode or the arcade mode for Madden rather than simulation. They're not gonna really feel simulation based when you play with them. Like your cornerbacks are gonna be really fast. Your middle linebackers change of direction is gonna be like really high and stuff. So I would recommend just keep progressive or yeah, just keep progressive fatigue on in your league settings, and then just mess with the fatigue slider and then your auto subs. Just keep messing with this. This was at 90 in my slider video, but I'm gonna try 95 for now. I'm still trying to figure this out along with injuries. I will say injuries try not to go above 25, but 20 to 25 is the sweet spot. I'm trying to find if 23 is the sweet spot because too many injuries happen with the enemy team, and obviously you don't want that. But I'm still trying to figure out fatigue. Regardless, though, guys, that's really it for this video. I hope, like I said in my other video, I hope that you appreciate the settings and whatnot. As I do appreciate you guys watching and testing out my settings and stuff like that. But other than that, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching.